What if I told you that you can create authentic mixed media without a printer, without using paper, and without buying any tools? Well, you're in luck. I'm going to show you how to recreate the same look entirely digitally, and I'll walk you through it step by step. The videos you've been seeing on screen have been my edits that have hit over 100,000 views on social media. So by following along with this video and learning my techniques, you can make amazing mixed media videos completely digitally using free tools or tools you already have. But what actually is mixed media? Mixed media is simply artwork that is made from multiple mediums because it lets you layer texture, imperfections, and emotion, things that clean digital art often can't replicate. In today's example, we will be using printed images and various art supplies to create an animation. However, we have a small problem. Most mixed media animations rely heavily on printing frames, scratching and tearing paper, and rescanning everything back in using a scanner or a printer. So the real question is, how do we get the same analog feeling without using a printer? The answer is emulation. Programs like Photoshop, Affinity Photo, and even video editors like Davinci Resolve let us emulate mixed media, and by the end of this video, you will have all the tools you need to make mixed media all on your own. So first, we need to convert our video into individual frames. I'll be using Davinci Resolve for this method, but I will be having a couple different methods throughout this video and alternatives. The first thing you need to do is have your rough cut of your edit that you want to turn into mixed media on your timeline. Hit Shift 9 on your keyboard. This will open the project settings. The important part here is not the resolution. You can do whatever you want with this. The important part is the frame rate, and I would recommend you follow along and do 24 for this tutorial. Davinci Resolve does not let you go below 16 frames, so we will be using a little workaround to get around that. So the first thing you'll want to do is add an adjustment clip on top of all of the clips that you have rough cut, and then right click it and go into the Fusion page. Then you will want to add the stop motion node. Then at the top right, you will see a slider. This is basically the posterized time effect from After Effects, and what that does is it slows down your frame rate. But you might be wondering what the numbers mean. The numbers are basically how much your frame rate is being divided by. So if we change it to 3, that means that 24 FPS is being divided by 3. Which means we have a final video of 8 frames a second. This is perfect for mixed media as it isn't too choppy and it isn't too smooth. This lets us animate the video easier once we have it converted into frames, and also gives it the choppy look that looks like mixed media. So head back to the edit page, and this will serve as a preview of how choppy your frames will look. This is what my rough cut looks like without the effect. And this is how it looks with the effect. Head on down to the bottom right and click on the Deliver tab. Then you will want to find a location somewhere on your computer to render all of the images out. Choose that and also select the file name. Once you have both of those, go down to the Format option and change it from whatever you have to JPEG. Make sure the quality is set on automatic. Now simply add it to your render queue, render it out, and that's all you need to do for now in Davinci. Now that you've exported all your frames, you may see something like this. If you didn't create a folder beforehand to export all the images into, I would recommend creating one now and dragging and dropping all the images into that new folder. Now, the way Davinci Resolve renders, it does not remove the duplicated frames. If you see here, this is the first frame, and then we have 2 frames of no movement after. And then on the third frame, we will have a movement. This will continue all the way through our render. So that means the only frames with movement would be frame 0, frame 3, frame 6, and so on. So to get rid of the duplicated frames, we need to delete 2 frames in between, which would be 1 and 2, 4 and 5, and so on. So I'm going to hold Control and select all of the images that I want to delete, and select them all and then delete them. Once you're done with your selection, it should look something like this. Make sure you didn't miss any gaps or it can cause issues later on. You can do so by making sure there's only 1 unhighlighted spot and then 2 highlighted spots after every image. Once you've double checked that all of your selected frames are correct, just right click on your selection and click delete. So we originally had 222 frames and now we are left with 74. Now if you open the image and scroll through them, you should see that every frame is a movement. We now have exactly what we saw with our effect inside of Davinci Resolve. The arguably easier method would be to just use Premiere Pro. You can either assemble your clip in Davinci and import it, or assemble it inside of Premiere. Once you have it, just drag it into your timeline, make sure it's set to full, and go ahead and play it. If you want to preview what it looks like at different frame rates, we can also do that in Premiere. Bottom left, select that, and type in posterized time. Drag that on your clip, and at the top left, we can now set our frame rate. To see the same thing that we saw in Davinci, you can set this to 8. As you can see, it looks the same as we had it in Davinci. So here's a part that makes Premiere much better than Davinci for this. If you click on Export, set a file name, then go to the Format dropdown, scroll down until you find JPEG, click on the Video dropdown, scroll down until you see frame rate, uncheck it, and now we will be able to change our frame rate to anything, even below 16. This lets us actually export our individual frames as the frame rate, which lets us avoid having to cut the duplicated frames afterwards. So just the same way we did it in Davinci, we'll divide by 3 and go to 8. Select 8 frames a second, go to the bottom right, and click export. Now, if you open up the folder that you rendered to, click sort by name and ascending, you should see we have all of them neatly put out without having to cut out any extra frames. Head on over to the Dumb Days website here. I'll leave a link in the description. Go ahead through the whole process and download this to your computer. Now open up your photo editing software of choice, whether that be Affinity, Photoshop, and create a new project. For the size, we will be using 3840 by 2970. This is a slightly square aspect ratio that mimics paper. And if you want a higher quality, just set the DPI to somewhere around 300. After that, click create. Then you'll want to open up the frame guides that you downloaded, click on normal guide, and drag and drop the 4096 by 2160 normal guide. Once you've dragged it in, just center it to your page, and it's meant for a piece of paper that's going horizontal, so just rotate it over and then scale it to fit. As you can see, now we have it fit with the page. Now go over to the folder that you exported all of your frames to, and simply drag and drop them to fill it in. This part doesn't have to be perfect, but just do your best. As you can see here, I centered it over the black outline because I don't really mind if it's covering. So what you can do is simply select the guide and just change the guide size until it fits the 16:9 aspect ratio. It doesn't have to be perfect, but as you can see, we can just scale it up a little bit right there after we moved it in a bit. And there we go. Now we have our image set up right there. And now we just have to do that all the way across. But as you can see here, they are labeled. So for this guide, I recommend starting at the top left and going down, and then at 5 going down, and then at 9 doing the same thing and going down. That way we'll have an easy organization of our frames. Now what we can do is go and hide the guide, go to the shape tool and add a white shape behind the entire thing and drag it down beneath all your images. If you need to do any adjustments between the layers, you can zoom in and simply move them around to make sure everything's even. Once that's done, I recommend going to File and then Save As, saving this as a template somewhere, and then duplicating it whenever you need to use it. And once you duplicate it, what you can do is select every image one by one, and then go to the Replace Image feature and just select the next image. So if the last image we had at the bottom right is 11, on the new template that we duplicated, we would go up to the 0 right here, click Replace Image, and put number 12, and then go 13, 14, 15, and so on, until we have a whole nother page of new images. And I would continue that until every image has been made into a sheet like this. Once you're done with that, you can simply export everything into its own folder as a sheet. However, there is an easier option. If you have Photoshop, open it up and go up to the File menu, go down to Automate and select Contact Sheet 2. Then, once you have Contact Sheet 2 open, make sure to select the folder option, go down and copy my settings, which would be pixels 3840 by 2970, set the resolution to 300, the columns to 3, the rows to 3, rotate for best fit checked on, and uncheck use file name as caption. I skipped the setting because this one is really up to you. If you like the other method where it starts at the top left and goes downward, then keep it on down first. If you want it to be more similar to how we naturally read, then choose across first, as this will make it start at the top left to top right, and so on. I will choose that option. Once you're done, click OK. Once you click OK, it may look like Photoshop is crashing, but just give it some time and then your contact sheets will be available. Photoshop is done, and as you can see at the top, it started us off on the 9th one. So if we go to the start, you can see it starts at the top left frame and goes to the right and then moves down a layer. And as you can see, if we go through, this is the last frame of that previous scene, and every sheet does the exact same thing. So once you've done that, you can save it all as a project, or you can simply export every contact sheet as a JPEG and then put it in a folder for use after. And that's basically it. So whichever method you chose, you should have the same result. All your fake scans in a folder ready to be used. It's time to add the textures to make our scan pages actually look like they were scanned back in. So first, I'm going to drag in a scan texture. You have to search around for these, but there's plenty of different kinds. This one I like in particular because it looks like a actual print head that has messed up the print and the scan caught all of the lines in between. I like to have it vertical and then size it down. And then here is where you play with the blending mode. So there's lots of different options. So if we scroll through, we can see how that affects the image in different ways. My general recommendation is to go for screen or lighten. I'm going to choose screen for this example. And your second option is whether to have it over the whole page, or if you want some more quality, to size it down to each individual image, just like that. And then what you can do is just duplicate this and then slide it over. And even if it has a little bit of movement in the actual overlay, you will actually see that movement in the final animation. And if you feel like the image looks a bit odd or the texture is not showing enough, you can go down and grab a curves adjustment. Make sure to use the parent layer as the paper scan. And once you go inside the options for the adjustment of the curves, depending on how you adjust the shadows or the highlights, you will see different effects with the texture. So for me, I want more of the lines to show. So I'll bring the highlights up a bit. And if you want less fading, you pull the shadows down. And if you want a more paper texture, it tends to be more faded. So as you see, if we drag the black point up, we get a little more fade on that. So this is with the curves and without the curves. You can choose what you like best. And that's basically how you make it look like you actually scanned it back in with a printer. So now that you know how to do textures, I'm going to show you how to use brushes. So select your background layer or whichever layer is at the bottom and then a new layer on top of it. And then select the brush tool and then using the brushes you found or that come with the software, choose one that you like. I'll just choose this one in the oil section. And now you can change the size of it and the opacity or the flow. So as you can see, this one looks like this, right? I like that. So select the color you like. There's a lot of blue in this, so maybe I'll choose something that contrasts really well, like orange. I'm going to make this nice and thin. And now just start painting whatever designs you like. This is a time-consuming process, but just mess around and do whatever cool designs you want, as you can see with what I'm doing here. And boom, we got our first little effect. And the sky's really the limit. You can do anything you want. That's one effect I like to do. Another type of texture I like to do is actually a border. So for this, I like to choose a very bold color, like a red. Make your brush size a little bit bigger and just paint on the whole outside of the image. And later when you scan it in, you'll see this cool border. And if you do the same for the next couple images, and maybe do a little less every time, so then it animates out like this, for example, then you will see the borders start to go away. And then it'll be gone. And that's a little animation that I like to do as well. But yeah, that's basically everything you need to know on the actual mixed media art process of it. And if you want to just experiment, it's all up to you. I'll play some footage in the background of me messing around and experimenting with different designs and layouts. But honestly, one of the best things about mixed media is that there aren't any rules and it's all about experimenting, layering, and seeing what you like. So once you're done with this process, you want to render out all of the different sheets that you've opened and then have another folder with all of your completed drawings on top of your images. Once you do that, I'll show you how to reassemble them in Davinci Resolve to make an animation. So I took off the adjustment layer on top as well, so it's back to the original length. And now we're going to want to import our contact sheet with all our drawings here. As you can see, this is the animation I ended up coming up with. So what we have to do now is we have to go from the top left to the right and go all the way and make these all separate images. So how we're going to do that is by zooming in like that, so it fits the screen, and then changing the position up and to the left, just like that. And then if you remember, we're in a 24 FPS timeline that we divided by 3 to make 8 FPS. So each clip needs to be 3 frames to match with the original. So go ahead and go 3 frames forward, 1, 2, 3, and then split it here. And then for this clip, you're just gonna slide it over and then repeat this for every clip. And once you hit the edge, you'll notice you can't go any further. So a little trick that you can do is to duplicate the first one right here and just go straight down. And then now you're on the 4th image, as you can see here. So then duplicate that and then keep going until you're done. And as you can see, we have 9 images, and that is all the images separated from our contact sheet. Now, just if you want to make sure, you can actually select over all these clips, hit Ctrl D, go to frames, and you can just make sure there are 3 here and click change. But since we already did that, they're all set up for us. So now all you have to do is, if you want, you can compound clip it like that, or you can just drag the individual frames. So drag these all the way back over to here. And as you can see, we have the animation already there. And if you'd like to add any more compositing and adjust the image further, just add an adjustment clip on top of your clip. You can add a color corrector for color adjustments or a film grain node with the FGR at the end. If you want to replicate a low quality scan, turn off monochrome and you'll see we get some color. And we can add just a little bit of color noise. And then I'll add maybe a little bit of blue, just like that, a little bit of saturation, and then a tiny bit of contrast too, just a little bit. And then if you'd like to affect the curves as well, you can do so here and just fade up the blacks like that. And just make sure you render cache everything. And now if we play it, you'll see our completed mixed media animation. And ideally you want to do this for every contact sheet and make an entire video, but that's really up to you how much you want to do. But I showed you everything you need to make a animation just like this. And that's it. You made your first ever mixed media animation all digitally without using a printer. Anyways guys, that's all I have for you today. This video took a lot of time, research, and work to make, since I tried to recreate the analog techniques the best I could. So if you've ever wanted to make mixed media, I hope that this video helped you out. But anyways guys, if you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate if you liked this video, subscribe for more tutorial and educational content on editing and post-production in the future, and let me know what you'd like to see in the next video down in the comments below. I'll see you guys in the next one.